How do you recognize a burnout?
I think it's really about priorities. I don't know that there's ever a life where that's always in perfect balance because there's always times where family needs you at a higher level, or your husband or spouse or your partner needs you at a higher level, and then your business needs you at a higher level. So they kind of move back and forth. So for me, it's balance is about harmony, but there are a couple of things that I think are really important.
Welcome to Superior Mind Body Health, the podcast where we bridge the gap between science, holistic healing, helping you live with vitality, longevity, and most importantly, balance. I am your host, Monika Banach, an advanced practice nurse and a results coach. Today, I have an incredible guest joining me, Chrissy Myers. Chrissy is the CEO of AUI, the third generation family business and the co-founder of Clarity HR. She is a powerhouse entrepreneur, devoted wife, mother of two, all while navigating challenges of leadership, relationships, self-care. She also advocates for families facing addiction and mental health struggles, bringing her to the heart and wisdom to everything that she does. So in this episode, we are going to dive into what it really takes to juggle a demanding career, motherhood, marriage, health, without losing yourself in this whole process. We'll talk about how she manages stress, sets boundaries because those are important, and stays grounded while leading with purpose. And as someone who's also balancing career growth, personal health goals, and big dreams, I know how challenging it can be to keep it all together. And I can't wait to hear Chrissy's insights. So grab a cup of tea or coffee and get cozy. So let's dive in. Hi, Chrissy.
Hello, Monica. I am so excited to talk to you today.
Yes, me too. Me too. So let's just dive right in. Chrissy and I met this past year at a very special event. Maybe we'll discuss it a little bit later. But Chrissy, as a CEO, a mother, wife, like what does it really take for you, or like what does it look like for you to balance all those areas of your life? Do you believe it's achievable or is it more about priority?
I think it's really about priorities. I don't know that there's ever a life where that's always in perfect balance because there's always times where family needs you at a higher level, or your husband or spouse or your partner needs you at a higher level, and then your business needs you at a higher level. So they kind of move back and forth. So for me, it's balance is about harmony. But there are a couple of things that I think are really important. The first is priority, and priority to self and priority to your core values of who you are, I think is primary. Oftentimes, I think as women, we think that no, it cannot be a complete sentence, but it absolutely can. So saying no to the things that don't serve us can be really important. As someone who is a chronic people pleaser, a recovering perfectionist, learning to say no was something that was a challenge for me for a great many years. But I've realized that as I've moved forward in my career, my growth a lot of times has been in part because I was willing to say no to things. So, I mean, there's always the no part, there's the prioritization. The other thing I would say, Monica, is the being willing to ask for help. I
Mm.
don't know about you, but I tend to suffer sometimes from superwoman syndrome, which means I can do it all myself and I don't need to ask for help and I'll just suffer through it. It's going to be fine. That doesn't serve me well. I mean, at one point in time, superwoman syndrome almost caused me to burn my house down. Other times it's caused me to have like a horrific ankle sprain, kind of set me back in my physical fitness. So I think that being willing to ask for help and being willing to put priorities and being willing to say no, I think are some of the important things and how we can live with work-life balance or work-life harmony.
Oh, those are such a good points. Thank you for sharing the number one, the no being complete sentence. Same here, recovering people pleaser. So I completely relate. And still to this day, I still catch myself. It's like, oh, I should. No,
No,
no, should is not. No, you don't owe anyone. And the more you say yes to someone else, the more you say no to yourself. So that really kind of helped put that in perspective to me. And I'm like, I am myself self first, and it's not selfish. It's just really you can be your best self. You can be best for everybody else around you. So really good points, and um, yeah, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
As far as like what have been some of your biggest challenges you face with managing work and family life?
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of them. I would like to take you back in time, if that's okay. So
Yeah.
I wrote a book called Reluctantly Resilient. And so it talks about, I was hit by, you imagine being hit by a tsunami. I was hit by two tsunamis in the span of 2 months. I was hit with a personal tsunami and a professional tsunami. The professional tsunami was that we were dealing in our insurance business, AUI, with the Affordable Care Act. And so we had a lot of changes. Our revenue was cut in half overnight. We had to continue to move forward, try to figure out what we were going to do with our organization. At the same time, I had married my high school sweetheart. We had two beautiful children, and he had a mental illness. And so I lost him
Mm.
in August of 2013 to suicide. So I went from wife to widow, from shared parent to single mom in the blink of an eye. And at the same time, 30 days later, we're getting ready to launch everything for the Affordable Care Act in our business. And, the world didn't stop when Michael died. It felt like it did for me, but we had to continue to figure out what are the things that I need to do to be in the business to keep it moving, to help it continue to be successful. And at the same time, grieve and manage loss. So I think that I don't say that for pity or to wear it as a badge of honor, but to really just say that there are always going to be seasons in our lives where we have tremendous highs, and at the same time we have to deal with tremendous lows. And so some of those moments in life, the rest of the planet doesn't stop. The rest of the things that we need to continue to do don't always stop. So, especially as business leaders, as parents or as spouses, we learn to balance and navigate those things. And so, I think that coming from that, there are three things that I think you need to have to continue to build your resilience and be successful, regardless of what happens to you. The first is being willing to practice the process of having a growth mindset. So knowing that sometimes failure happens, but it's an attempt in learning. It's not all black and white. So having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Carolyn Dweck talks about it in her book Mindset. It's a great read if you're looking at, how do we performance manage? How do we kind of have the right perspectives as we move forward in life? How do we build more flexibility in ourselves? So I say first is a growth mindset. The second is building your interpersonal effectiveness skill. So how you communicate, how you get your needs met. Some of us do that by going to therapy. Others do it by working with different types of coaches and professional development, personal development people. Others can use resources online, but building those interpersonal effectiveness skills are really important. And the third thing that I would say is, finding a what else. And a what else, if you're a business leader, is something beyond what you do for a living. It's what drives you. It's beyond your mission of making money. It is truly your purpose. And for me, my what else at the time that Michael passed became a mission that I did not want to, I don't think any other family should lose a family member to suicide. So I became a passionate advocate for mental health. I serve on our county mental health board now, and continue to push forward. And now my what else has continued to grow in inspiring other people to also find what else is for their business, for their family, for their personal mission. So those are the things that I would say as you navigate those ups and downs can be really beneficial. There's other things that are more tactical and kind of figuring out, what is the cadence of how you have meetings as a family and how you make decisions. What are your values? What are your core values as a family? What are your core values as a person? But growth mindset, interpersonal effectiveness skills, and having a what else, I think that can get you through a lot of the ups and downs.
Wow. Well, thank you for sharing that such a personal experience and your loss as well. I'm sorry. And that's so beautiful that you were able to turn that around and help others. So being becoming someone that takes the pain and helps somebody else is really what truly can help with the healing and your purpose in life. So thank you. That's so powerful. And did you write the book like after that? Like when at what
Yeah.
span did you? Okay. And what
Yeah.
book, like, what is the, like, what is it about?
Yeah, so reluctantly it's about a few different things. I mean, it's about lessons in life coming from a CEO's perspective. And so I talk about, the loss of Michael. I talk about transitioning a family business. So when we went from second generation to third generation in our family business, we talk about, balance and cadence as a entrepreneurial family, talk about the highs and lows of navigating a business through COVID, and then really what it means to find your what else as a business owner. So, a lot of different stories. I would say it's kind of like if we were to go to brunch and you were to ask me a couple questions about how did you navigate dealing with a difficult situation? How did you navigate burnout? How did you navigate superwoman syndrome? Those are some of the answers that you would probably get as some of the stories that are in Reluctantly Resilient.
That sounds amazing. I need to read it because that sounds like a book that I would love to read, and especially that is written by you. So thank you.
Oh,
Read
well,
that.
thank you. And if you don't have time to read it, you can always listen because it's on Audible as well. So
It's,
it is.
do you read it? Is it?
I do. I
I,
do read it. In fact, what happened was I published the book and I was super excited. And I started going to friends and family and colleagues and going, hey, I published this. And they're like, that's wonderful. I'm never going to read your book because I don't read. I only listen. I was like, oh my gosh, that's not okay. So now I have to record it on Audible. So I did. I did the recording myself. It's about 3.5 hours long. So it's a quick read if you're like commuting, if you want, like, you're going to take a long hike. It's a pretty fast, pretty easy thing to listen to.
yeah, I love the Audible, especially when I'm driving to work long distance. So yeah, awesome. Thank you. And
Mhm.
I'll put that in the comments as well for those who would like to check it out. So, um, moving on to health
Yes.
area. As someone with high pressure career, how do you prioritize your health?
Oh, well, how about we start with how I used to not prioritize it? So, when I was younger, right around the time that when Michael passed, I realized, oh my goodness, I'm now a single parent. It's just me. I have to start making things more of a priority. So that's really when I had started prioritizing my health. I got into really good shape. I took care of my body, I took care of my mind. So I mean, went to therapy, took care of the mental health side, also continued to work on diet, nutrition, exercise, and learned that part of managing the anxiousness and some of the residuals that I had from being a single parent, from dealing with some of that trauma, could be navigated successfully through diet and exercise. And then also realizing that as I'm managing some of the stress, transitioning a family business, dealing with different dynamics within our family, soon after my husband passed away, my father passed away a few years later. So, I mean, dealing with some of those things in grief, having a routine became really important. But
Mm,
I also learned as I was going through that routine that being mentally present while I'm doing the workout is so important too, because if you don't, you can injure yourself. And that happened to me when I wasn't being mindful and I wasn't being present when I had a really bad ankle sprain. So now life looks a little different in balance. As we continue to age, things change, our body changes, the different things that we can do change. So I have focused more over the last probably 6 months on really dialing in my nutrition, making sure that I'm feeding myself the right way, that I'm balancing my stress hormones. So I run the two companies right now, the employee benefits company and the HR company. But for 2 years, I was taking a company out of in oil and gas services out of receivership. So I don't know if anybody has seen Landman, but I literally played like landman for 2 years and was kind of like working in that field, dealing with those types of situations. And I didn't realize, Monica, until after I was done with that position, really how much stress I had internalized within my body. And even in the last few months, as I've been continuing to kind of detox from that situation and the environment, I can feel like the weight and the pressure of the things that I was dealing with just kind of dissipate. I'm sleeping better. I'm doing things, but I mean, nutrition is better. I'm able to focus when you only have one job as opposed to two. It makes it a lot different. But I would say too, as you're balancing your health, tying your physical health to your mental health and making sure that when you prioritize yourself first, not because it's selfish, but because it enables you to serve other people. I know that I am a much better mom, a much better partner to Steve because I take care of myself. Because if I don't take care of myself, then I can't serve anybody else either. And that makes it very difficult. And they know when mom goes down, it's a problem. So, um, that would be one thing that I would say to your listeners, especially is if you're on the fence as to whether or not you should make it a priority, you're worth it and you need to because you need to be able to depend on yourself to do the things that you want.
Absolutely. Did you ever experience like burnout during that phase? Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
like total burnout.
Did you recognize it then? Did you know it was burnout? Or
Yeah, so there've been a couple times where I've experienced burnout, and I think for me being a high achiever, so my strengths finder, I'm an achiever. My Colby has an 8.8, which means I'm a high fact finder. I'm a high follow through. So I am a doer by nature. There
yeah.
is a score at the end of every day, and if I do not have a score by the end of the day, I am a failure. And that's not always healthy, but I've gotten better at being able to recognize some of the burnout symptoms, but sometimes when you're dealing with difficult situations, you kind of have to put it to the side. I would say the first time I burnt out, I didn't realize I was burnt out. Now, as I'm leaving this one company that I was with, I can tell that I was burnt out, but I didn't realize the degree to which it had happened. But I will tell you this, Monica, I don't know if you've ever had someone mandate a pajama day for you, but I was a few months ago, I was talking to my counselor about some things that I was managing and stressed. And I was saying, I'm having some issues with brain fog. And she's like, when was the last time you had a pajama day? And I was like, what's a pajama day? She's like, it's when you sit on your couch in your pajamas and do nothing. I'm
Oh,
like, I don't know when the last time was that I had a pajama day. I'm like, come on, we worked through all of the things that I used to have to keep my mind busy and tasks when like there was a point in time where she told me I couldn't organize things because I needed to make sure that I was being more mindful, practicing my mindfulness. No, Chrissy, when you're stressed, you're not allowed to organize every closet in your house. You have to be able to find something that is quiet and reflective. So I'm like, I don't want to do a puzzle, but I did. So kind of figuring out those things for prioritization. But I had a pajama day like about a month and a half ago, and it was amazing. I had no
how
idea how.
often do you do a pajama day?
Well, now I'm trying to do one once a week, but my husband gets a little concerned. So I'm like, well, we'll just so once a month, I think is kind of the key.
Oh, I'm stealing that pajama day. I absolutely love it because I can so relate it to you, Chrissy. If I have a day off and I'm home, like I am constantly doing stuff. I'm organizing. I gotta do this. I gotta do laundry. I gotta No, now it's like I legit, and it's not often enough, but like once every few weeks, I will legit just do nothing, like watch some mindless shows on Netflix and just sit on my couch and not even put makeup, brush my teeth, obviously, but just sit around and
Yes. And so
just
for me, it was an interesting concept. And so part of my struggle sometimes is, well, I can't just say I'm not going to do anything because I mean, I've got family that depends on me. I have two dogs that depend, like, I've got things. I've got a husband. I've got two kids. They are all self sufficient, but they need me and they're going to expect things. And I can't just stop. And she said, no, you can. And so the day before, um, I told them a couple days before, like, I've been assigned a pajama day. I'm not doing anything.
so
And
they
I think
know what it is. They
to
know.
warn them. Yes, because I'm in strategic coach. And so we talk about free days, which is where you don't do any work. But I was like, this is different than a free day. This is a free day that is a pajama day and that I am not working. I am not doing anything that I don't want to do. Now, if I wanted to get dressed and go somewhere, fine. But this is not, I'm not doing anything that I don't want to do. And so I told my husband like I'm like, do you know what tomorrow is? And he's like, no. What is tomorrow? I'm like, it's pajama day eve. So like I was getting very excited for it. And then once when we had pajama day, it was funny because the kids came downstairs and they're like, can we sit on the couch with you for pajama day? I'm like, yes, you are welcome to sit with me. You are not welcome to disperse my peace, but we can hang out totally fine. I'm just not
I
going to break
love
up an
it.
argument. I'm
That's
not
so
going to have a long discussion. I'm not going to make a decision today. And my husband's like, do you want me to order dinner for pajama day? I'm like, yes, I would like you to do that. So I think I was spoiled by my first pajama day because I'm like, I want more of them. And I think it's really important as we continue to grow as leaders and we take care of ourselves. And so it's okay to put yourself in timeout. I mean, I've had other situations where I've been at a conference or I've been away, I've been in meetings, and I've realized that like my emotions, how I'm feeling, the way that I'm showing up is not the person that I want to be. So it's like, okay, we're going to put ourselves in timeout for a minute. We're going to reset. We may eat something, we may take a quick nap, we may go do some breath work, we'll do something to reset so then we can come back as our best selves. I think that sometimes is the struggle that we have as women, and in particular as women leaders, is we think we have to be on all the time. And
Yeah.
even when things are difficult, we still have to power through. Again, I said at the beginning that no can be a complete sentence, and timeout and
Yeah.
pajama days, those are okay if they get us to be back to the point where we are our best self.
That's awesome. So in aspects of like what helps you recover from a burnout, so pajama
Yeah.
day is number one. Anything else that you use that helps you recover?
Oh, I would say the self-care routine of, go get a massage. If you use acupuncture, go to acupuncture. I use acupuncture as a way to reset my sleep.
Mm,
Really important to me. I kind of it keeps myself aligned and the things that I kind of deal with on the stress side so it can kind of balance myself. So I use traditional medicine. I also use Chinese medicine. So it's like it's a great way to kind of balance the energy of who you are. Um, give yourself things that aren't just tasks to do. Find something that you really enjoy. If it's taking a walk with your dog, or if it's just spending time with a friend, going for a cup of coffee by yourself, getting your hair done. I
mm,
mean, if
yeah,
you have the budget and you can get your hair washed every week and you don't have to do it yourself, go for it. Like those are things that like, doing the self-care part is really important, especially as you continue to ascend and grow in your career. It's not selfish to want to take care of yourself. It's not selfish to want to have time for yourself to recover because you are pouring into people all the time. You can't pour from a place where you're empty. So it's something I know there's a saying about you can't pour from an empty cup. We really can't. We try constantly, I think, as successful women leaders, but it's something that we always need to be cognizant of and know that you are not serving people if you are exhausted.
yeah, I agree, absolutely. And for people that maybe, because I've been there before too, where I didn't realize I was burnt out.
Yeah.
Well, how do you recognize a burnout? Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yeah. So there's a few things that I recognize for myself with burnout. The first is, you know, I start to get apathetic.
Mm,
The level of care that I have doesn't seem to be as strong as it normally is at the same time. So there's apathy. And then there's the other extreme of major mood swings.
mm,
So looking at, why am I acting this way? Why do I feel this way? Like if I know that I'm getting emotional more frequently, like if something that normally wouldn't cause emotion, wouldn't cause me to either get angry or really upset. If I get tearful, one of my good signs is if I get tearful when I'm going through my email inbox, that's a moment that I need to step away and take some time that I may be reaching on the burnout side. The other is a good signal for me is when I stop sleeping on a regular cycle. So I wear an Aura ring, like a lot of people who wear wearable technology kind of track what's going on in their lives. I've noticed, especially over the last year, that when my sleep cycle starts to change dramatically, then I might be approaching burnout because it's like my brain isn't turning off. I'm waking up in the middle of the night. I'm ruminating on the things that need to happen or need to get done. I'm catastrophizing on different issues that I'm trying to solve as opposed to just giving myself a rest. So those are my warning signs. I think there's others for other people, but I think that if you building self-awareness around who you are and how you respond to stress is really important as you mature.
great points. I love it. Um, as far as going to your relationship with your husband, like being a successful entrepreneur, I know it requires long hours, a lot of commitment. How do you reconnect with your spouse when life gets hectic and busy? Do you have any
Oh,
specific routine or things that you do with your husband?
yeah. So there's a few things. I mean, first I would say we call ourselves Team Awesome Sauce. So when you got four people, three last names, mom who built businesses, dad who played team sports, you get team name, Team Awesome Sauce, our purpose statement, put more awesome in the sauce. we radiate awesome to the world. So I mean, like we're very much in the space of who we are. So one way that we reconnect, there's a couple things. The first I would say is being organized as a family in that we've got our team name, we've got our core values as a family, and we've got our word for the year, which is understanding. So we know where we are in alignment as a couple and as a family unit of four. We have family meetings, we have a talking stick. So when things get spicy in our house occasionally, we can kind of reset and have those conversations. But Steve and I have an interesting cadence. So we have normally a weekly meeting where the two of us talk for about, we meet on usually Friday mornings. It's a 90-minute meeting. So for people that run on an entrepreneurial operating system, EOS, we kind of follow that framework, but it's more about, what's going on with the kids, what's going on with the businesses, where are the decisions and discussion points that we need to have, because we're both running in a lot of different directions during the week. The other thing that we try to make a point of is that we have a date night once a week. And it doesn't mean that we're going out to a fancy dinner. Sometimes it's both our kids are at play practice and we can eat together by ourselves because their play practice is running late. Or both of our kids have to be somewhere together for show choir. So we're going to go to breakfast with each other before we go to their show choir competition. So it's kind of like stealing those moments where we can be together and connect. And the rule with that, Monica, generally on the date night, date day, date whatever, is we talk about family, but we really try not to talk about business. So it's more of those connections of, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? Tell me your opinion on X, Y, or Z. So we're really just trying to work on the relationship part and then getting to know each other because we're raising a family, but we also know that our kids are 13 and 17 right now. They're not going to be in our house forever. And so making sure that we have a solid relationship as they continue to grow up and exit the house is really important. So we are very much kid and family focused, but we're also couple focused. And I would say that we're couple focused first. So we know that our relationship is primary and raising our children is on the periphery of that because what is really important is that we're all connected. And we get interesting comments from other entrepreneurial families. In fact, I was in a mastermind group last year and we were talking about our family cadence and this is our purpose statement and another person in the group to kind of be snarky, she's like, oh, so you run your family like a business. And I was like, no, we run our businesses like families. So we very much keep the same cadence of making sure that we have good employee engagement, conversation, good boundaries, good understanding of where harmony needs to happen in our organization and that we cannot work all the time. There is value in play and connection. I think it's really important. So I mean, we try to model our professional lives very similar to what we're doing in our personal lives.
So good. And most importantly, too, Chrissy, something that made me think of your 90-minute meetings is those meetings are probably you are together. There's no distractions. You're not like on the phone while talking to your husband. You are there. You're present. And I think that's what really oftentimes lacks in relationships too. Even friendships is like people are just on the go and they think like, well, I'm home. I'm here, sitting on the couch on my phone watching TV. I'm here with you, but you're not really present. So it's not the same as being truly present. Like I am looking at you, I'm paying attention to you. You're all that I am like,
Yes.
yeah. So
You're exactly right. And we have a rule in our house around, phones and dinner. Like if we're eating dinner, we're together as a family because we try to have meals together at least 3 times a week. As the kids have gotten older, it used to be 5, 6 nights a week. As the kids have gotten older, it's become a little bit difficult because they've got different things that they're into at this point. So we can't always have the same amount of time together. But when we're together, either as a family or as a couple, it's, we try to put our phones away. Like there's no reason for us to have outside of, an emergency or one of the kids needing us. It's, we don't need to respond to that work email. We don't need to respond to that text message or that phone call. There could be a lot going on in the world, but for 40 minutes, we can sit and have a conversation and have dinner together and enjoy it.
yeah, or the social media too, like I'll check Facebook
Exactly.
for the 10th time or
Yeah.
Instagram, and you can get in this like rabbit hole. 'Cause I've been there and I'm like, "Oh my gosh,"
Yes.
3 hours later and I'm like scrolling through Instagram. Like so I give myself like rules too. Like if I'm working on something, my phone is on do not disturb, and I'm setting an alarm for like an hour
Mhm.
undisturbed work, whatever I'm working on right now. So,
Yes.
because otherwise I'll just get distracted. I'm like checking our phone. Next thing you know, hour later, you're on Facebook. You haven't done what you were supposed to do because you got distracted.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
so right.
Yeah. What what is one of your beliefs or maybe mindset shifts that has helped you most in your journey?
Oh, so I would say, Monica, some of that was what we did when we were together in Florida. So I can we talk about it a little bit?
Yeah, let's do.
Okay. So I mean, we both experienced, we went to Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny. That's where we met.
Yes.
And I know that for me, what my biggest takeaway with that work was I had defined what my goals and my core values were by a series of things that were all pass fail. And it had to be 100% pass rate or it was an abject failure. And so I know for me I realized, wow, I am really hard on myself. So one thing that we learned when we were there was how to write rules that make sense for the things that are really important to us. So I mean, I rewrote my core values. We talk about, having a resilient spirit. So anytime I practice being courageous, I do something that scares me, I try something new, I'm living in that value, as opposed to before I would be like, resilient spirit means I make this amount of money and I have this many employees and I have this much success and I have this many followers on my social media platforms with my podcast. Like I had all of these things tied in as opposed to, making my goals something that where I could shoot for and make those hard, but I didn't have to tie them to the values of who I was. That has probably been
Mm.
the most freeing learning that I've had in the last decade of, all of the things that I've done in professional development, personal development, in therapy. I mean, the change in definition for giving myself rules for my values was impactful. And so I recommend anybody, if you have the opportunity to rewrite your values in that way, really consider taking the time to do it.
Yeah, it was incredible too. And also to add to that is like that primary question that we ask our
Yes.
that was huge for me because I thought I was asking a good question. And my question was, my old question was, am I enough?
Yeah.
Thinking like, how can I be better? But that question actually was very not empowering because it made me feel like I'm never enough because am I enough? Like that's not a good question to ask. So I had to rewrite my primary questions because we love Tony Robbins, obviously. Everybody has different views on Tony, but this guy is incredible. The Date with Destiny was one of the most transformational experiences for me personally.
Yeah.
And just the way like everything was just organized for the Date with Destiny, it was absolutely incredible. So I agree with Chrissy. If you get a chance to attend one of those in person,
Yes. Do
do
it.
it. It is very long, 6 days? Was it 6 days?
It was
Yeah,
7, like, yeah, it was
6
6 days.
days,
6 days.
long
So
hours,
yeah,
2 to
I've
3 AM.
never been up that long in my life,
Mm.
ever, not even in college.
But there's a purpose behind all those Tony Robbins believes that if you get your conscious mind so tired, he can do the work when the subconscious kicks in, right? And I could feel it. Like
Yeah.
it was like there was moments where like I didn't even know who I was.
Yeah.
It was incredible. So that's a great, great, great point. You also, I've read, I think it was one of your social media posts, like your motto, your life's motto is do good and be good. How
Yes.
how does that guide you in your life and leadership? I love that motto, by the way. I think it's such a great, simple, but so powerful.
Yes. So our motto of do good, be good is what we have at AUI and Clarity. So it is part of our purpose. So our purpose statement is we provide peace of mind by simplifying the complicated. And then our motto to remind ourselves of that is do good, be good. And so for our organization, one of the things that I believe is that serving the community is just as important as doing business in the community. And so when we say do good, be good, it's not just the work that we do that for clients that pay us, it's also the work that we do in the community to continue to impact. Because when clients support us with their dollars, we're able to support other causes within our community. And so for me, I like to be, I like to think of impact and what we do is creating ripples. And so my goal is to create ripples of positive impact. And so when we do that, we can change the world. So do good, be good is the short way of just reminding ourselves to care more than just about profit, more than just about people and mission, but to care for all of those things together.
I love that. And then when I saw it, I was like, that is so Chrissy.
It is very succinct. Yes.
What advice would you give women that are juggling a career, family, maybe personal growth and other things, kids, dating, maybe? Like,
Yeah.
what advice would you give them to maybe just to kind of do better, feel better, so they feel like they're not constantly failing short?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing that I would say is you need to give yourself grace. And that's something that I didn't for a very long time. As
Mm,
someone who is a recovering perfectionist and had very strict rules for all of the values that I had before and that everything had to be tied to achievement. I did not give myself enough capacity and enough grace. And so I tended to be in a space of judgment on myself. And I think oftentimes as women, we're thinking about the standards that we need to hold or where we need to go. And in doing that, we're doing ourselves a disservice because we are radiant and beautiful and amazing with where we are and continuing to be that way as we move up the ladder with grace, I think is so important. So the first thing I would tell other women is don't be so hard on yourself.
mm,
That would be my first. The second, I would say, and I think we talked about it at the beginning, is you don't have to do everything by yourself. It's okay to ask for help. And oftentimes, when we ask for help and we're authentic in who we are, that's when our breakthrough comes. And
mm.
so, those are the two that I would think about. Give yourself grace, be willing to ask for help. And the third, I would say, is, be in the moment. So there's got to be a third one. And that is, I know for me, there are periods of my life where I was so driven that I missed some of the most amazing things that probably happened because I wasn't paying attention or I was so focused on what was coming next. And so that's one thing that Steve has been instrumental in my life with is that when we first started seeing each other, he would often just look at me and go, "Can you be here?" And I'm like, I don't understand what you mean. I'm here right now. Like I'm in the space. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And he's like, can you mentally be here? I know you're physically with me, but I know you're thinking about four other things right now. And I need you to think about here. And so that was a big wake up call, especially as I'm grieving mom, raising children, we're becoming a blended family. We're dealing with a lot of different things in business, a lot of things in life. And I was realizing, I'm sitting at things, I'm at kids' performances, and I'm not even paying attention because I'm watching them on stage, but I'm thinking about what are the 10 things that need to get done in the business tomorrow. And I'm missing those things. And so I I would say if you're really working on going far and going fast, find people to go with and really pay attention to your journey because so much of why we enjoy it is the process by which we get there. It's not the achievement, it's the journey from which we go.
Such an important reminder, just stop and smell the roses, just be in the moment and yeah, I love that. Those are so good. Chrissy, you're incredible. Love all your advice and just like the way you explain things in such a easy to understand language for people. You're just real. This is you. So that's why I loved when I met you from the beginning.
Same.
Hi, girl. It was awesome. You also mentioned that you have a podcast. What is your podcast called and what is it about?
Yeah, so it's the Better Business for Small Business Leaders podcast. So we talk about different practical ways to get 1% better in your business every day. So I interview different business leaders, different pros that work with small businesses to kind of help small businesses understand, how to continue to operate. So we talk about, how to have a good relationship with your banker, how to manage your sales team, how to balance, being in a family business when you work with your spouse. There's a great interview from one of my business friends who's also a new dad, and he talks about, balancing baby and dealing with, when you work with your spouse every day, how do you manage those types of things? So it's just a really great short podcast about, usually most of them are less than 20 minutes long. So you can find it wherever you get your podcasts at, but the Better Business for Small Business Leaders podcast.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
look, and then where can people find you on social? I'll link all that stuff too, but
Yeah.
what's the best place to connect with you?
So LinkedIn is a great place, Chrissy Myers. And then Instagram, I'm Chrissy Myers CEO. And I would love to be connected with your listeners and with everyone else. Yeah, it's a great time.
Love it. Wow, what an incredible conversation. I love your perspective on balancing life, business, personal life, your well being. It is such a powerful reminder that success doesn't mean sacrificing yourself, but just really balancing life. And thank you for sharing your wisdom and your heart with us and your story. That's very personal to you. I appreciate you sharing that with us. And to all of you listening, if this episode resonated with you, take a screenshot, share it on Instagram, follow Chrissy, tag us, and let us know your biggest takeaways. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. It really helps us grow and reach more people who need these conversations. And until next time, remember your health, your mindset, and your choices determine the quality of your life and the questions you ask yourself daily as well. Take care of yourself. Thank you.